Hello everybody, welcome back to beautiful sunny Sarasota, Florida. It's Lyle, your Corvette buddy here at CNS Corvettes, here to talk to you more about interesting, exciting, and man, do we have some cool news today. I'm sure you've seen it all over the internet. The new ZR1 for 2025 has been unveiled, and I'm going to go through some of the facts on it and give you my thoughts and maybe some questions that you can help me answer. But before we do that, please take a look at this. Hey guys, welcome back. This week we've got one of these really cool sweepstakes that is getting ready to end in just 17 days. The reason I'm bringing this to your attention today is A, it's a Z06 convertible with the Z07 package plus $25,000 from the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum, which is awesome. Been there, cool place. They do a lot of these. They've been doing them for years, so you can trust them. The reason I put it out here is because we always get the best bargains on our stuff on these sweepstakes right near the end. So with 17 days left, right now you're getting 40% more entries if you buy. So if you go over here to 200 and you buy $200 worth, you're going to get 80 extras that you can put toward that at no additional cost. And all you have to do it is click on any of these windows here, and you already have our code up here. Pick your entries, put in your information, and you'll be entered. You got 17 days left to do it before the drawing. If you win, I expect a ride. Thank you. Okay guys, so GM, as promised yesterday, dropped the reveal of the new 2025 ZR1. And man, it blew everybody's mind. If you watch any kind of car shows on the internet, everybody who's had a big name in the internet car review stuff was invited up to Michigan or wherever, and they got to spend time with these cars. And the cars look phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but what got everybody just blew their minds was the performance numbers on these cars. So let's go through some of the basics, and then I'll get into a little more detail, and then we'll go into some questions that I have and that I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on. So the 2025 ZR1 is going to be available in both coupe and convertible formats. One of the cool changes with the convertible now is that they finally put a clear cover over the engine to where when the convertible top is up, you can actually look down and see that beautiful new LT7 engine, which we'll get to in a moment. This car has more horsepower than you could possibly imagine. The numbers from GM are exactly 1,064 horses. Think about that, 1,064 horses. By comparing it to some other cars that you probably know of, that's more horsepower than the Ferrari LaFerrari, the Porsche 918 Spider, the McLaren P1, the Bugatti Veyron, the current SF90 Stradale Ferrari, which is their current fastest, baddest car. I mean, guys, you're talking, well, this is like hypercar territory, and it's an American car. It's crazy. You're talking 820 foot-pounds of torque. The LT7 engine is a flat plane crank 5.5 liter V8 with two gigantic twin turbos mounted intricately into the exhaust manifolds to drive that engine. So basically it is a strengthened version of the Z06 engine to handle the boost and handle the extra load that it's going to have on it with two giant turbos slapped on it. This is the most powerful production engine ever built in the United States for a passenger car. It has the largest turbos ever fitted to a production gasoline engine. Some of the neat factoids that they came out with from GM, those turbos get 2/3 as hot as the bottom of the space shuttle during re-entry, and the outer tips of the turbo fins in those turbos reach speeds of Mach 1.7. That's 1.7 times the speed of sound. Yeah. One of the nifty things they did, let me back up. One of the concerns you have with turbo-powered sports cars, first seen really clearly in the Porsche 930, was when you step on the gas, it was nothing, 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 everything. And it would kill a bunch of people. So there was no chill. It had no chill. It was not linear at all. One of the things they did on the new LT7 engine was they designed it to keep those turbo wastegates closed when you get off the gas to retain some of that pressure so that the revs and the pressure don't drop enough when you get back into the gas that there's nothing for a moment and then gobs of power that are almost uncontrollable. So keeping the wastegates closed keeps everything more linear, and it makes it easier to manage, especially with all that power. They do offer what's called the ZTK aero package on this car. Tons of carbon fiber bits, a giant wang on the back, very much more race car than the Z06 wing. The Z06 biggest wing is really cool in that it kind of follows the body contours of the car. This looks much more like, hey, race car over here, much more aggressive. And that can produce, the ZTK package at speed will produce up to 1,200 pounds of downforce, which is really, really solid. I think the only American car I can think of that had more was the Viper ACR highest aero package back when they were making that car. I think it had 1,900 pounds of downforce. They have improved carbon ceramic brakes, the largest front ceramic brakes ever fitted to an American car. And they're going to help haul the car down from speeds that are going to be well in excess of 200 miles an hour. They did tune, and this is one of the things I found interesting, they tuned the ride and the suspension on this car still to be very, very sporting, but less harsh and less unforgiving than the Z06. So while the Z06, especially in its most aggressive form, is really meant to be a track weapon that you can drive on the street, I think they've looked at the ZR1 more as a super high-powered supercar that you will drive on the street normally, but can take to the track. So slightly different focus there. It's going to be a little more comfortable, a little more forgiving. To get into some performance numbers, GM is quoting a speed well in excess of 200 miles an hour. I'm going to guess with that kind of horsepower and with the aerodynamics of the Corvette as they are, my guess is probably 230, 235 at the top end. If you could ever find a stretch of road long enough and empty enough to get there. Quarter mile time, sub 10 seconds. My guess is going to be about a 9.8. I mean, guys, do you know how fast that is? Y'all remember the first Fast and Furious movie from, a ways back, where Paul Walker's character owed Dom Toretto a 10-second car. And that was a huge deal because this was a car that required so much customization and so much work, and they built that crazy orange Supra and it was a 10-second car, and that was like unbelievable. Well, you can go buy a 10-second car off the showroom floor, a sub 10-second car off the showroom floor. Another crazy thing, they quoted, this is GM's figures, the time to go from 80 miles an hour to 200 miles an hour back down to 80 miles an hour. So cruising at 80, jam the gas, hit 200, hit the brake, get down to 80. 25 seconds. That's really crazy. Really crazy. That's like fighter jet feel in the cockpit. So obviously there's a bunch of cool stuff coming out on this car. We don't have any idea about price yet. I would say, judging from the way ZR1s have been priced in the past, I'm going to guess this car is going to come in somewhere $179 to start. Now, God knows what the dealer markups are going to be, and this is, as we saw with the Z06s, once those cars were introduced and everybody wanted one, they were bringing telephone numbers. So I'm sure that there'll be something like that with this car. The nice thing is they're not going to do a limited run like they did on the C7 ZR1. They're going to build as many of these as people want. So there won't necessarily be the scarcity problem, but I'm sure there's still going to be ridiculous price gouging on these because everybody who doesn't want to spend $500,000 for a 1,000 horsepower supercar is going to want one of these cars, whether they're a Corvette fan or not. Another question I have is about traction. Now, the current Z06 with 670 horses is famously difficult to launch well because it's hard to put 670 horses to the ground efficiently and in a way that gets the car moving without too much tire spin. It does okay with it, but even really talented drivers have remarked that it's tough to launch. Well, if you're going to decide now that you've got a car that basically has an LS7 505 horse motor running each rear tire, and that tire's wide, but it's only that wide, how are you going to maintain traction? I'm sure they have a wicked electronic traction control system, but I would be curious to see what it's like to actually launch that car and how that would be for someone who isn't a professional driver. What effect would this have on Z06 prices and sales? I think it's going to make the Z06 much more attainable for people who have the money to buy one without having to pay stupid markups. I think you're going to see, now that they've announced this car, that seeing Z06s for sticker available at a dealership that aren't already spoken for is going to become much more common. Just because now the people who want only the best and the baddest are going to focus on the ZR1, not necessarily on the Z06. Because let's face it, they were paying what is going to be ZR1 money a year and a half, 2 years ago for a Z06. The Z06 is much more track focused, but the ZR1 is going to be, as they said back in the 90s, the king of the hill. Some other questions, and these are really the questions I have for you guys. What do you think reliability is going to be on a car like this? This is the first time that GM has ever put a turbocharged V8 into the Corvette. And it's not like this is dipping a toe in the pool. I mean, these guys are going whole hog. I'm confident that they know what they're doing, but we've seen some of the growing pains that the C8 has gone through, both in Stingray and Z06 form. What do you guys think it's going to be reliability-wise out of the gate? I've got my own suspicions. What do you think dealer markups are going to be? My guess is these cars will, if they list it like 180 for the dead base car and close to 200 for the full ZTK blah 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 package, my guess is they'll be selling for close to $300,000 for the first few months or year that they're available, and then it'll calm down from there. But what are your thoughts? And finally, and this is the one that worries me the most, what about the stupidity factor? Just because somebody has the money to buy one of these cars, how many people are going to get hurt? Now, I know GM, when you buy a high-performance Corvette like a Z06, you get a coupon to go to Spring Mountain and go learn how to drive the car on track, which is all well and good, but there's nothing in that training that is a pass-fail. So you could go there and the instructor's being like, no, you're done. No, please don't drive the car again. But they can still go out and drive it in traffic with your family. So what do you think the stupidity factor is going to do to people who are not familiar with driving super high-powered hypercars, getting into one of these cars and going for a romp? I'm a little worried about that. But I'm interested to hear your comments, and I'll respond to them as I see them. Anyway, we're super excited about this car. Can't wait to get more information. I hope you enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you soon.